Right folks, that's nice and dry. Now it's time to move on and paint in some mountains and trees. What I'll do first of all is do the old masking tape thing. Long enough to go across, and what we'll do as last time, this time we'll stick it on to, who's got the fluffiest jumper shirt?
No.
Mandy.
Oh, Mandy it is.
Taking half your hair with you as well, yeah. I'll just put your fingers over it. And then what we'll do is get this line pretty straight, and we'll have that round about a quarter of the way up the paper. And then just stick it down with your thumb, so it's a nice seal. Get some mountains and hills at the bottom there, and then bring the trees in, but of course we need to mix some colours. So it's the large brush first, and using natural grey, which we've sort of got anyway in there from the sky, just making sure it's fresh. Clean your brush off, and then what we'll do is get the bright yellow, which is, I'll test you on this one, it's called Aureolin.
Aureolin?
Aureolin.
Not Harryolin.
It's a bit of a mouthful, that colour, I tell you. And that'll give us a green. When the grey and the yellow come together, that'll give us a nice green there. And then using a tree brush, not any tree brush, the only tree brush, it's the large one. It's a large tree brush, folks, what we're going to use for this one. Again, nice and clean brush, and what we'll do is mix up some bright yellows for this one. And I'm going to go thick, strong green for this one, but a bit of a dark green. So if you use the Aureolin yellow, quite thick, and what we'll do with this, rather than putting blue into this, we'll bring some grey into it. It should give us quite a nice green. An evening green, a silhouetted colour, and the colour there is quite thick. But the first thing I want to do is use the large brush and paint in the misty mountains, working down to the tape. So you've got to put yourself lakeside now, in the Lake District.
Okay.
And you're going to paint in which mountain you're going to paint in? Skiddaw, Catbells.
Keswick.
We'll paint a townscape of Keswick, shall we?
Yes.
Using the grey, and just sort of wobble the brush a little bit, make it look more interesting than just being a pyramid. No pyramids this time, okay? Just get it painted straight in. A relatively pale colour. Think about the composition as you do this. Give your brush a bit of a wobble. If you've got a shake as you do this, that's better, I think. Now as that comes down to sort of halfway, what we can do, folks, is we can bring in some of the yellow to mix with the actual grey. So I'll clean my brush first. Again, wipe it over that tissue there. Use the yellow, which is called?
Aureolin.
Yeah, well done, top marks. Not too much colour. I'll bring this all the way to the bottom and get the grey to blend in with it. It's giving a bit of a misty feel to this. There we go. And then what I'll do at this point, put that brush away, go for the smaller brush, which is a number 6, and a slightly thicker grey. So we're just going to put a touch more grey in the side of the palette there, always on the tissue, folks. And let's think of some separations we can pull into this. So maybe this mountain can sweep down, and you can see how the colour's darker, it's thicker, which means it's not going to flow as much. And we can bring this one slightly forward. So again, this is natural grey working down there. So that's just going to come down there. And if I need to do any little twisty bits to represent some trees in the foreground, then we can do that as well. Just to roll or twist the basic impression of trees. A little bit misty. There we go. So that's giving a bit of recession, a bit of distance to your picture there. In this bottom corner, which is the closest part in the picture to us, we can bring in a little tiny bit of a tree there, or a few trees, using the large tree brush. And the way to use the brush would be to stipple it. Pick the paint up and give it a bit of a tap. You get that nice sort of flat shape to it there. So just very lightly tapping away. You see it's a nice dark green, this one, as you do this. And this goes right down to the tape. Think about the shapes of the trees. Now you can see how the green is quite dark. It's not a bright sunshiny green because it's an evening picture, so it doesn't need to be. And you can control the shape by looking back at your picture and see what you need to do with it. Now that could pretty much go up and down all the way across there. So just stipple and tap in across, and you can see that's a quick and easy way of painting in a few trees. Think about the shapes of these as you do it as well. Just to finish off this step, I'm just going to stipple the grey on the brush. A few shadows in these trees. So this is literally just tapping the grey straight in, straight onto the paper.
It's getting quite scary now.
Is it?
I'm
It's getting
frightened.
dark, that's what it is. It's darkening. And if you're really feeling brave, if you've got a little finger, have you got one?
And
You've got
one
two.
on
You've
top,
got
yeah.
two there.
Yeah.
You could even scratch out one or two little lines at the bottom. It almost represents a couple of little branches, but I mean that's something that only happens if the paint's slightly damp, so it's not something what you need to worry too much about, but just in the corner you can see it's given a nice impression of a few branches. So we'll leave that to dry, folks, and it's Mandy's turn in the hot seat, the lucky person. Right, Mandy, it's your turn to paint these mountains. You put your tape down.
I have, yeah.
Yes, it's well stuck.
It is. Right, mountains.
Same to you.
Is that a
Not
bit
too
wet?
pyramided, just imagine the nice sort of fluid
Yeah.
hills.
Egypt in Derby.
And then a smaller one on this side. And then what I would do is fill it up to about halfway with your grey. So that's fine for the grey, go for the yellow. Once you've got to clean your brush, just work it in. Just work it in. Lift it up and sweep that in, bring the grey down into the yellow. All the way. Yeah, all the way across, straight through there as well. Treat it all as one to start with. There you go. So use a smaller brush, a number 6, and a dry brush for this would be perfect as well. So just dab it on some tissue. You've got to decide which one's in front of which one, so that one could come down or that could come that way. I would say this one probably.
Yeah, that way.
Yeah. So it's almost painting over that one again and bringing it down. Just sort of sweep it down a little bit. Already, folks, you can see a nice separation between the two hills. It's not so bad, is it? So it's just this line there that you want to take away. And you can just sort of twist a bit of grey there to represent the trees, if you remember. That's fine, and we'll just put some trees in this corner, and that of course is using the tree brush, large one. And the green is a mixture of aureolin and natural grey. That's it. Look at this. Confidence, eh?
Mm.
So on yours, I think if you just bring it down, taper it away. Just imagine the heights of the trees as you do it, and just get some grey on your brush by itself, just to put 1 or 2 bits of shadows in your trees.
But you haven't got to fill the
No,
gaps
it's nice
in,
to
have
keep
you?
some bits. It just needs some shadow, otherwise it looks too flat. So well done on that then, Mandy. It's time for a quick recap. Use masking tape to mask off the horizon line. Use natural grey and then aureolin for the distant hills. Stipple the trees with a mixture of aureolin and natural grey, and then add some shadows with natural grey. Right, folks, so while Harry and Nigel finish off that stage, I want to show you how to layer watercolour and create depth. Very simple thing to do this, using a large brush and a nice grey. It's got to be the right grey for this. This is natural grey, and what we'll do is paint in some very basic distant mountains. Bit of a wobble with your brush and just fill it in at the bottom. Pull it down. Get that nice basic background effect for mountains, and what we'll do is let that dry off for a few seconds, come back and use the same colour to layer it up to create distance in the picture. Okay, that's nice and dry now, so all we need to do is use the same colour, same brush, and just layer the watercolour through. And of course watercolour is transparent, so it means you can get twice the strength in colour by painting over the top of the same background, fill it through, and you can see how that's really come forward towards us. And of course what you could do to improve it slightly is use the tree brush again and just get a little bit of grey there and just pop a few little distant trees to the corner. A nice quick and simple effect, how you can build up and get recession in your watercolours. Right folks, time for the next stage. We'll very gently peel the tape away. If you peel it away from your trees, it should come off a little bit smoother and hopefully not rip your paper. But Matthew's not held responsible for any rips that may occur. Alright, so pretty straightforward for this one. All we need to use is the large size 20 brush. I'm just going to wet the water because you can't beat it, can you really? So if you wet the water...
That's brought the blue back out, hasn't it? Just putting water on.
It's this magic water, yeah, it is. It's like special watercolour water, this. Yeah.
Where do you get it from?
The River Trent, probably. And then using number 6 brush in the green that we use for the trees. Again, what do you do with your brush before you paint?
Dab it on the...
Wipe it on your tissue
Wipe
first,
it on your
okay?
tissue.
It's restricting the amount of paint what's on there. I'm just going to do horizontal lines for the water, because water is horizontal unless it's a waterfall. And just going to loosely think of the heights of the trees as you go along. But pretty much, you can just work across in horizontal lines. If you do find yourself going a bit downhill, just start to use a bit of it's a bit of like a sort of ruler type technique. And you can see I'm almost sort of scribbling it on the paper. It's starting to dry at this point. dry water is not good, so we need to work pretty quick on this one. And then literally the finishing touch is to use a bit of natural grey, which I've still got there from the mountains. Again, wipe it on tissue, and you can hover for this one and just try and catch the paper every so often. In any bland areas, you could put 1 or 2 pale ripples in your water. So just very lightly skimming the surface, and of course this is something what you can keep doing until you're happy. If you need to thicken up your colour, of course you can do that as well. In fact, if you go slightly darker with the grey, just in this bottom corner we could lift it forward by adding 1 or 2 darker ripples. A little bit of darkness up there just to represent the shadows in the trees. That is pretty much it, apart from the classic thing, which of course is 1 or 2 little birds. 2 or 3 birds. And that's it, folks. Now let's see how Nigel gets on in the hot seat. Right, Nigel, so if you take your tape off, you can have a go at doing these reflections. Take your tape off away from your tree so you don't rip your paper. What do you need first of all?
To wet that down again.
Yeah.
The only thing is that's happened
Right.
while I was doing it.
Which
so
is probably where your brush dropped onto your paint. In certain places like this, I mean, it can be covered up. When you put your water on, why not put some more blue paint on first to cover it up? Yeah?
Okay, no.
So we can do that.
Sure.
So if you get your large brush and then wet your water, because you can't beat it.
You can't have dry water.
Dry water's no good. And of course, again, make sure it's all covered, including this Portuguese man of war down there. Coral, that's what it is. Coral.
Coral Beach.
Yeah, she's a
Coral
nice
Beach.
person. She's cool. If we start off by just getting some of the blue, just dab it on the tissue so it's not soaking, and just glide the bottom in, take it all the way across.
All together.
Now we're doing that.
All together.
That's it, so it's gone
Okay.
straight away. And then if you just dry your brush off again, and then you could just blend that up towards the picture. You know, really get that, almost squeeze your brush as you do it.
Oh, that's when you did
Yeah,
that
give
bit.
it a squeeze and you get that
Okay.
flat brush and you can just blend that blue out. Blend it up into your picture. That's it. That's fine. So that's fixed that pretty much. If we go for a smaller number 6 brush and then we use some of the green and reflect the trees on that side. Just wipe it on the side of your Easy Clean palette.
And we're
Easy
keeping this
clean.
wet, not...
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
that should be enough paint on there. It's just doing horizontal lines underneath the reflection. And the water, what's there, should carry it through. You see it working straight away, it's just carrying the paint. It's very rare that you see a perfect mirror-like reflection. We're starting to see reflection there now, I think, as well, yeah?
Mhm.
So it's just a few ripples to get some movement in your water, which you always need, don't you? Just get some of this. And again, just wipe it on the side there. Maybe even give it a dab on there. It's just putting 1 or 2 horizontal ripples, which is a bit nerve-wracking sometimes. You know, if you sort of glide your brush almost quite smooth, and that's it.
Just let it stroke the
Yeah,
paper.
it just kind of catches the paper every so often as you do it. It gives that bit of movement. Obviously more at the bottom than the top because it gives distance, depth, and it makes your water look flat. And then a few birds and you've cracked it. Not too big, little wide V shapes. Two or 3, you know, most people say put 3 or 5, but you know, you're in the flock, so that'll be fine. Yeah, that'll be okay. So that's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's have a quick recap. Wet the paper and add in the reflections of the trees. Use natural grey to add 1 or 2 horizontal ripples. Finish off with a few birds in the sky. Right folks, let's have a look at doing a basic waterfall. I've prepared this very quick landscape scene. Just using the medium tree brush, what I want to do is use a nice pale blue and stipple the brush in the palette. Not too much paint, so you might need to blob it on tissue a little bit first. And holding the brush close to the end, using the tallest hairs of the brush, very lightly start to stroke it forward, very little pressure. Almost do this as though you're writing with a pen. So just very lightly stroke it over. And you can see it starting to flow nice, like a waterfall should do. And then using a grey, stipple into the grey, this is natural grey, and then just in the odd place, just give it a nice little flow and put some shadows into the water. Just get it working through there. And right at the bottom it's quite nice, just to put a few little sort of spotty bits. This is tapping the brush, almost like it's a bit frothy. Tap it across, little bit of water, dab it on tissue, and then just blend those parts into the picture. There we go, a simple but effective waterfall. Right, so well done to all three of you. So this one's Harry's painting, and I think he's done quite well with this one.
Really?
A couple of mistakes came into the picture. It brought in 2 dark lines as opposed to the one, but it has actually worked for the better because it's given extra distance. These mountains go even further back than those ones. Only thing I would say is just a little bit more work on your water, but it is the first time you've painted water, so I think well done.
Thank you.
So this is Mandy's painting, and again it's got nice recession. I like the use of the yellow in the hills. It's given nice depth there. Very nice soft sky. The famous birds are in there as well, which works quite well. But again, I would say just a few more ripples on your water would make all the difference, really. It works well. Well done. Top marks. This one's Nigel's painting, and I've got to say that the sky's come out really well. The burnt sienna that goes at the bottom of the clouds is giving the impression as though the sun is down and it's shining up. So it's like a sort of backlit, if you like, and that's worked really well. But again, maybe it's the water again. Just more movement in your water. A little bit too sort of sharp as you were working. Try and get that loose brush work in, yeah? But well done. Excellent job there, folks. Well done on that watercolour painting. Now I've got some homework for you folks at home, and that's to have a go at painting the waterfall effect using the dry brush technique. Remember to hold the brush close to the end and very lightly stroke to create the effect, adding a few shadows and some foamy bits at the base of the waterfall. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Paint Along With, and I hope I've given you the confidence and inspiration to get started in watercolour painting. Next week's painting is a fantastic summer lane with an ivy covered tree, and I'll say a bye from me, and it's a goodbye from these as well.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I was quite happy when I put the basic colours on, and then it seemed to go all over the place. But I seem to have rescued it, and it's not too bad.
I think this was one of the more difficult pictures to paint, but overall I think with the different colours it's made quite a nice painting altogether, and I'm quite pleased with it.
Once again, I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. I was a bit worried when I had that water spot, but once again Matthew told me how to correct it, and yeah, I'm really pleased.